Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a like up. Star Trek Strange New Worlds fans should brace for disappointment in seasons 4 and 5 regarding one of the show's popular characters. Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 3 has ended on Paramount+, and Strange New Worlds' third outing proved to be divisive among Star Trek fans. A recurring gripe about Star Trek Strange New Worlds is that each season is only 10 episodes long, and Season 5 consists of only 6 episodes. 10 hours a season doesn't seem sufficient to give Star Trek Strange New Worlds' expansive cast of characters and talented actors their properly deserved spotlight. It took 3 seasons for Star Trek Strange New Worlds to give Lieutenant Erica Ortega's Melissa Navia a spotlight episode. After the #Mortega's champion Navia's snarky pilot, Ortega's solo outing, Episode 9, Terrarium, ranks as one of the best hours of Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 3. Unfortunately, another member of Captain Christopher Pike's Anson Mount USS Enterprise crew won't get their own character-specific episode in Star Trek Strange New Worlds' final 16 episodes, essentially replacing Erica Ortega's in that regard. Trek Movie interviewed executive producers and co-showrunners Akiva Goldsman and Henry Alonso Myers about Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 3's finale, and learned that Commander Pelia Carol Kane won't get her own spotlight episode in Seasons 4 and 5. Read their quotes below. Carol Kane's eccentric Commander Pelia is a consistent scene stealer and a source of endless humor in Star Trek Strange New Worlds. A 5,000-year-old Lanthanite, Pelia has lived a weird, exotic life that she is revealing in dollops, like that she somehow met a time-traveling doctor. That is Doctor Who. No Commander Pelia's spotlight episode in Star Trek Strange New Worlds' final seasons is disappointing, since audiences are begging for answers about the Lanthanite chief engineer. It seems fans will just have to be satisfied with Pelia as a recurring face who says the most bizarre and outlandish things in and out of engineering. Another letdown about Commander Pelia not getting her own Star Trek Strange New Worlds spotlight episode is that her character is destined to exit the USS Enterprise, possibly without her full story being revealed. At the end of Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 5, Pelia will be replaced as the USS Enterprise's chief engineer by Scotty Martin Quinn. Currently, Lieutenant Montgomery Scott is Pelia's protege. Brilliant, but a work in progress under the Lanthanite's tutelage. Carol Kane joining Strange New Worlds was a genuine casting coup, but the stage and screen legend is a recurring face on the show due to Kane's availability. Perhaps this is why Pelia won't have her own solo outing in Star Trek Strange New Worlds' final 16 episodes. Fans of Star Trek Strange New Worlds are riding a wave of anticipation as the series heads toward its next season. The show has managed to blend the optimism of classic Trek with the cinematic polish of modern television, offering everything from swashbuckling space adventures to quiet character studies. But as with every franchise entry that juggles nostalgia and innovation, there's a storm cloud gathering on the horizon. Viewers may need to steel themselves for a big disappointment, not because the show has lost its creative spark, but because one of its beloved characters may not survive the narrative storm that looms ahead. The reason? Strange New Worlds has always been a story walking on the edge of canon. Fans know the fates of Captain Christopher Pike, Spock, and eventually James T. Kirk. Yet, in exploring the lives of characters who don't have preordained futures written in the pages of Star Trek lore, the writers have given themselves the freedom and responsibility of creating new tragedies and sacrifices. So, who might be in danger? And why does the possibility of disappointment feel almost inevitable? Let's take a deeper look. From the very first episode, Strange New Worlds has been upfront about Pike's destiny. His eventual accident and transition into a life support chair is not just hinted at, but forms the emotional backbone of his journey. Yet, Pike isn't the only one bound by history. Spock, Uhura, Chapel, and eventually Kirk have futures fans know all too well. That leaves the newer characters, Lon Noonien Singh, Hemmer before his death, Pelia, M'Benga, Ortegas, as the ones whose arcs can swing wildly in any direction. These are the crew members who are most vulnerable to narrative sacrifice. And while fans adore them, Star Trek history has always demanded tragedy to heighten its triumphs. A looming disappointment may come not because the writers want to shock for shock's sake, but because the story itself demands it. Erica Ortegas has become one of the most quietly beloved characters on the Enterprise. With her dry wit, razor-sharp piloting skills, and sense of loyalty, she's the glue that binds together the ship's more flamboyant personalities. Yet, in comparison to Spock or Uhura, she doesn't have the same canonical armor protecting her. Rumors among fans already speculate that Ortegas may not make it past the coming seasons. Her limited story focus so far could be a narrative setup for something devastating, a heroic sacrifice that will etch her into Trek memory even if she's not part of the original series. Losing Ortegas would sting precisely because she represents the beating heart of the new crew dynamic, and her absence would send ripples of grief across fandom. The disappointment here wouldn't just be about losing a character. It would be about losing the potential of all the stories still untold. Lon is another candidate for heartbreak. As a descendant of Khan Noonien Singh, she carries both the stigma and the strength of her lineage. Over the past seasons, we've seen her grow from a guarded security officer into someone capable of deep connection. Her time-bending romance with Kirk remains one of the show's most talked-about episodes. But Strange New Worlds has a pattern, giving characters moments of catharsis before pulling the rug out from under them. If Lon's story arc is about breaking free from the shadow of her genetic past, the cruel irony would be to rob her of a future altogether. A tragic death for Lon could be framed as her ultimate sacrifice to prove that she is more than her bloodline. For fans who have invested in her journey, this would be devastating, yet narratively, it would pack enormous emotional weight. The Chapel-Spock dilemma, perhaps the most divisive element of Strange New Worlds, has been the romantic entanglement between Nurse Christine Chapel and Spock. While some fans have embraced the chemistry, others argue it undermines the subtle tension between Chapel and Spock in the original series. The disappointment here may not be death, but disillusionment. If the writers decide to abruptly end Chapel's story or fracture her romance with Spock in a way that feels forced, fans may feel betrayed. We already know she will not be by Spock's side in the same capacity once Kirk takes command. How the show handles her exit or diminishment could be one of the greatest sources of heartbreak. The tradition of Star Trek loss. It's worth remembering that Strange New Worlds is far from the first Trek series to break hearts. From the death of Tasha Yar in The Next Generation to Jadzia Dax in Deep Space Nine, and even the fates of beloved secondary characters like Trip Tucker in Enterprise, the franchise has always balanced hope with sacrifice. Fans often rally around the cry that Trek should be about optimism, about no one is expendable. But the truth is, Trek thrives on the humanity of loss, the willingness to show that exploration carries risks, and that sometimes those risks cost lives, gives the victories meaning. The disappointment looming in Strange New Worlds may simply be another chapter in that tradition. Why it hurts more this time. So why does the prospect of losing a Strange New Worlds character feel sharper than usual? The answer lies in how the show has positioned itself. Unlike Discovery or Picard, which leaned heavily on serialized arcs and galaxy-wide stakes, Strange New Worlds has centered itself on episodic storytelling with deep character focus. Every crew member feels like family, and each small adventure builds intimacy rather than spectacle. If someone like Ortegas, Lon, or even Chapel were suddenly gone, the loss would be felt not just as a plot twist, but as a fracture in the family viewers have grown attached to. Preparing for the disappointment, the hardest part for fans is that there's no way to game the story ahead. Canon protects some, but not all. The rest is in the writer's hands, and they've shown a willingness to lean into tragedy when it serves the narrative. So, what can fans do? Prepare. Expect the possibility of loss, not because the show wants to devastate you, but because Star Trek, at its core, has always been about exploring the human condition, even when it hurts. Yes, it will sting. Yes, there will be tears. But disappointment in Trek often transforms into legacy. Just as fans still mourn Hemmer while celebrating his brief but powerful impact, the next character loss will carve a lasting scar into the heart of the franchise. Conclusion. The price of bold storytelling. Star Trek: Strange New Worlds has raised the bar for modern Trek by taking bold risks, balancing nostalgia with originality, and never shying away from character-driven storytelling. But those very strengths set the stage for a looming heartbreak. Whether it's Ortegas, Lon, or Chapel, or perhaps someone entirely unexpected, fans must be ready for the possibility that the show will demand a sacrifice. The disappointment will be real, but so will the legacy left behind. In the end, that is the price of bold storytelling. To risk breaking hearts so that the story lives forever. And in true Trek fashion, even loss carries a promise that the mission of hope, discovery, and connection will continue, even if not everyone survives the journey. Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and stay with us.